Hey folks, welcome back. My name is Krishna. If you're new to the channel, welcome. This time around, we're going to focus on two-point perspective, create like a skyline that's basically going to be a worm's eye view type of look. So let's go ahead and get started. So we'll start off by drawing a horizontal line, holding down the Shift key on a brand new layer. We're going to duplicate that line by hitting Command J, and then we're going to hit Command T to create a transform. We're going to choose the left middle quadrant for our pivot point, and we're going to simply rotate it up like so. We'll hit Enter, Shift Option Command T. What we're doing here is we're creating basically a one-point perspective grid. There's a vanishing point here. We have rays that emanate from that vanishing point. It's much easier to do it this way than it is to go ahead and simply draw lines manually. And once we have this in place, we're going to hit Command J to make a copy of our lines, and we'll transform and flip horizontally. So now we've got a set of grids. Now what we can do here is we can move the vanishing points out to where they're basically not being shown on the canvas, or we can bring them in. It's really up to you. I like this. This looks pretty interesting, so we're going to go ahead and roll with that. We'll merge those two layers together and drop the opacity. The reason why I'm doing that is because I want to be able to create a new layer and create some vertical lines for the actual buildings themselves. So why don't we go ahead and start off by just drawing a vertical line. Then we'll create another vertical line. This is going to be one of the faces of our building. And then we'll extend another set of lines to make this building a little bit taller. Doesn't really matter where you place these vertical lines because when we connect them with our diagonal lines, it'll all work out. So make this building a little bit taller, like so. And what we can do now is I'll just go ahead and say that this building is going to have some thickness associated with it. We'll draw a horizontal line since this is a ground view. We can do that. And then what we'll simply do is we'll connect those tops of the buildings together. So I'm just simply going to go ahead and freehand this. You can come back and use some of the techniques I've talked about in terms of making diagonal straight lines. I'm just going to freehand this to make this quicker. And I'm following the existing diagonal lines as best as I can. If there's a diagonal line that does not exist, I'm just using my inference to go ahead and figure out where that line is going to be. As long as they look believable that they're going to converge to a specific vanishing point, you should be fine. So I've got these buildings as follows. I can go ahead and create a few additional lines here just to go ahead and have this appear like it's actually tapering off into the distance. So again, holding down the Shift key, making the lines progressively closer. Maybe I'll connect a few of these up. There we go. Maybe we'll just draw the ground plane there too. Now, what happens in terms of drawing things like windows or other elements that can kind of make this look more interesting? Well, let's go ahead and create some type of a entrance here. And again, I usually look at references. There's an opening here. Maybe this is like some type of a street corner store. We'll go ahead and draw some windows. And the way I'm going to do this is just draw this on a separate layer. I'll just go ahead and create a set of vertical lines as follows. And then what I can do is I can take the polygon lasso tool and simply trim off sections of the lines that I don't want. So in this way, it's a very quick way of working. I can just come back in and use those diagonal lines that I've already got as a reference or a marker for which to go ahead and now connect the panes of the windows. as follows. So I've got something that looks like this. I know that some buildings tend to have glass fronts, so I'll just go ahead and indicate that with some vertical lines. I'll provide a hint of some windows off in the distance. And I think I have enough to where I can actually start to put this together. I'm just closing some of my gaps here because the next step here is I'm just going to add some black fills. And what these black fills will do is just kind of makes the buildings pop. I guess I didn't close a gap up here. There we go. And so now I've got these buildings. I can add some brickwork or a hint of brickwork. Don't have to add a lot of detail, but just enough to where there's a semblance of texture. And we've got our building structures in place. Now I can do a little bit of finagling here. I'm going to merge these layers together. I'll duplicate them by hitting Command J, and then I will hit Command T to flip this. I'll flip this horizontally. And basically I have a street view that looks something like this. Now these buildings are very, very symmetric with one another. And what I'm going to do is just modify some of these buildings just to give them a little bit more variety. So I'll make a brand new layer. I'll just add the hint of another side here. And maybe I want to add some other elements just to kind of make this look a little bit more lived in. So what if I were to kind of provide the hint of some type of an awning? Right? There might even be, on this side, there might be some type of street sign. Again, I'm using the polygon lasso tool. And just breaking things up using shapes to add some additional information. So maybe this is like a dumpster over here. So you can see that I'm adding certain elements to kind of give this city a little bit more variety. Now, the pro tip here, if you've watched this video up until this point, I can use the symmetry tool, the vertical symmetry tool, if I wanted to have, say, a building that was going to be towering over all of these other buildings, maybe like a metropolis type building, or some kind of a, you know, interesting structure, if you will. I can use the vertical symmetry tool and I can make some short work of creating a structure that, you know, appears to be in front of everything else, or basically super important. So I've got this structure right here. Create some additional buildings that are behind it. This is how I can add some layering to the city and just make it look more interesting. And let's just add some hint of windows. Again, these don't have to be perfect, but they need to just basically convey some storytelling elements. And I'll add some bold lines here so you can start to see that this is coming together. And you can always turn off symmetry and add things like, you know, water towers or, you know, other elements. There could be antennas. You could break up some of the repetition that's going on here. So now what I can do is, let me just trim this bottom area off, come back in with a cleaner line, and I can potentially add some foreground elements. So maybe what I'll do is I'll draw the hint of another awning. Like there's something that's basically in the immediate foreground. Maybe there's like a fire hydrant. Something that can just give this scene a little bit more depth. So I'll go ahead and blacken that in. And And maybe we want to have some evidence of some vehicles. So maybe I'll have a hint of maybe a car or a van. So I'm going to use my lasso tool, cut this up, put some lights, have a hint of a grill. So there's something off in the distance, and then we'll draw a street lamp. And so now we have this really interesting looking cityscape that we can basically add characters or other elements to it. So it's actually pretty cool. Something else I would also recommend here, you can certainly add foreground elements, which is what I'm doing right now. So we've got this hydrant. Maybe we might actually have some hint of some internal structure here. So I'm using the polygon lasso tool. I'm going to carve out and just add some hint of maybe some brickwork just to break up all those flat shapes. And try to match those perspective lines. It's not going to look perfect, but just kind of adds a little bit of extra variation. You could add some organic shapes. Maybe there's like a trash pile or something, right, that you can use your imaginations with. So here's basically, you know, a very, very simplified 2-point perspective, you know, street level view of a cityscape. You can always add characters to this. You can add signage, you can add, you know, spaceships or other elements like that, whatever you feel like you want to add, sidewalks, just to go ahead and break this up and make it look more visually interesting. So if you found some value in this, please consider giving this a thumbs up so other folks can find it. We just hit 3,300 subscribers this weekend. Thank you all for your support. I greatly appreciate it. If you have a question or something you're struggling with as a digital artist and you want me to maybe consider that for the topic of an upcoming video, please leave me a comment. And also don't forget, my brush pack bulk version 2 just came out a week ago, and it's got some killer brushes in there, I think. So if you're looking for some brushes for Procreate, Photoshop, or Krita, give those a spin and let me know what you think. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.